So, after seeing The Last Jedi on opening night, there has yet to be a day where I haven't read, what did you think of Star Wars from my half-cracked phone screen, unrelated to what I thought of the movie. Um, Seeming to be most of my friends and family's local Star Wars fanatic, I thought I'd give giving an official commentary review a try, saving me from having to repeat my thoughts over and over. So, yeah, here we go. This will have a ton of spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, don't don't keep watching, and come back after you have. So there's been plenty of reviews, and they're kind of scattered all across the spectrum. And from what I've read and watched, I've seen that there's basically three types of people, or what they think about it. The people who watched it as a movie, which it is, so that's fine, and they seem to like it a lot. People who watched it as a new addition to the Star Wars universe, which it also is, and they're a bit more on the fence. And then lastly, the group of people who just are happy with anything and everything Star Wars. And I guess there's the fourth category of everybody who dislikes anything and everything Star Wars, but we don't really talk to those people. I think that's important when giving your review, so I tried to keep those in mind when I was making my decisions as well. So without further ado, my general opinion is that I liked the movie as a movie. It was visually appealing, it had good action, and I did think almost 3 hours had passed by the time the credits showed up. But as an addition to the Star Wars universe, it was definitely lacking. Knowing the old storyline and what they're replacing since Disney bought it, everything that was history is now being rewritten. And it's remarkably less interesting and exciting than what used to be there. So, being as invested in the universe as I am, it's difficult to see things change, especially when they're for the worse. As the movie states a few times, and it might be time to let the old things die and embrace whatever new Star Wars adventures we get, because it's still Star Wars, it'll be cool. Yeah, so if I were to rank Star Wars movies, and with this one in it, this has changed so many times, but I would have to say it is now episode 6, 5, 4, then 8, Revenge of the Sith, Rogue One, 7, 1, 2. So I did like this more than Force Awakens, just because it relied a lot less on the big, like, oh hey, there's the Falcon, or now Han's back type of a thing. But yeah, keep in mind, they're all like my favorite movies, so even they're on the lower spectrum, I still like them quite a bit. Anyway, yeah, so that's generally it. I really like the movie for a movie. Disappointed in what it's bringing to the Star Wars universe, but we'll see what else it has. And I plan to go into more detail now. So that's all you care about. Thanks for watching. Bye. But if you want to hear more of my thoughts, I'm going to keep going. So let's start with the good parts. The visuals and cinematography were easily the highlights of this. Just like in Force Awakens, they did some awesome jobs on getting the large cinematic shots that everyone will want on their desktop backgrounds the next day. Nearly everything to do with Crate, the salty planet, was eye-candy to me, and I ate all of it up. The aerial shots of this junky speeders making their red paths, how the battle went on towards the end. The planet looked like it was bleeding out of the rebel base. Kylo making his killing blow on Luke. Slides across the ground, it looks like he's smearing blood. The poster I would want, though, is when Luke is standing in the hole of the giant blast door, and the massive approved AT-ATs are just standing there, like all aiming at him. It was the fulfillment of what Luke said back in Octo, the island planet, when he mocks Rey and is saying, like, what do you expect me to do, walk out with a laser sword and take on the entire First Order myself? And Rey was right, and Luke came through, and she said what the Resistance needed was a legend. Speaking of, though, those new walkers were really BA. They're super beefed up and gorilla looking. I don't think they can climb, maybe. That'd be really cool. What else? The Praetorian Guard fight, the Red Guards, a really other well-done moment. There's something different than the one-on-one lightsaber fights that we see all the time. Not that those are bad, but something different is cool. And that they included the whip, which is sweet. It's already in Star Wars history as like a Jedi killer type weapon because it's really effective against lightsabers. What I'm sure everyone's waiting for, and it was easily the coolest part, was the Lightspeed kamikaze moment. It was amazing. I appreciated it more the second time I saw it, because the first time we had some dingus in the back complaining, like, did the sound really cut out? Are you serious? And that was a little upsetting. Ruined the moment slightly. Yeah, it was still really awesome. I compare it to the time or I'm assuming it's like the time that people first saw the Falcon jump to light speed, or the Death Star blowing up, or the seismic charges that Jango Fett uses in Episode 2. Just one of those wow moments. Another thing I liked a lot was the new Force abilities and like lightsaber tricks they did. I always wanted Jedi, Sith, whatever, to be more crafty with how they fight, because they have the Force at their disposal. Why not? So the idea of Kylo's sneak attack on Snoke, just turning a lightsaber and turning it on, was super cool. I look forward to more things like that. And Kylo's like quick flick on and off of the lightsaber to kill the guard was also really fun and humorous. So that was really, really cool. As far as Force abilities go, the main one was definitely the Force projections type of a thing, and sort of telecommunication. And man, yeah, there's a lot of that. So the scenes with Rey and Kylo were awesome. They were one of my favorites for sure. The only place in the movie that I felt really didn't have super flat characters. So yeah, we learned Snoke was connecting the two of them, and it wasn't just some phenomenon thing. And Kylo does a little foreshadowing, stating that it would kill Rey if she was doing this. The effort would kill her. And it also looks like Rey and Kylo were either permanently bound together, or Luke is still connecting them, or something, because they could see each other at the end of the movie, even after Snoke died. Anyway, I liked the conversations and how we learned what happened at the temple when Kylo turned. And I do think it was the last option, where Luke just had a moment of weakness and then everything fell apart from there. It is strange, though, because Luke was very much the never give up type when dealing with Vader and turning him back to the light. So, anyway, but it was obvious how afraid he was when Rey was curious about the darkness and what it was telling her to go see. So then we have Luke's projection, which was, the height of the movie. I noticed he looked younger and he was using the blue lightsaber. So I knew something was up. I didn't know he was projecting himself. It was still awesome. I wish they used the green lightsaber to make it a bit more questionable and make it, harder to notice. So then you'd really just have to see, like, his foot marks on the ground or something. There was looking more into that, and there must be some limit on how much of the physical world you can interact with or can go through the projection. Because he did block the light when he was walking, and he could touch Leia's hand, kiss her forehead, give her hands dice things. Side note, Leia left behind those dice when they were escaping from the base, and I don't think she knew they were projection, so it's just really sad that she would leave something when she's, like, almost going to die from her dead husband. Just, doesn't make sense. Anyway, but Luke, he did all those things, but he didn't leave marks on the planet, and he actually never, touched Kylo, besides Kylo trying to kill him. Their lightsabers never hit or anything like that. But then Rey shot at Kylo, and nothing happened, but water came through his ejection at one of the points. I guess we'll learn more about it. And then, but I'm okay that he died at the end of it, because he's going to be back, project himself or something. And if Yoda could use lightning, or cause lightning to happen after he's dead, I'm sure Luke can do some crazy stuff. Because as Yoda said, we are what they grow beyond, and Yoda being Luke's master, it means he is, in theory, stronger than Yoda. I brought it up a bit ago, but Kylo is definitely one of the best characters this go-around. Everyone could agree the last movie was a little weak, but he, definitely turned things around. His acting was better, he actually had some character growth, and I'm excited to see how this character will end up in the next episode. I was annoyed in the throne room scene right away because Snoke was saying that, he could sense everything in Kylo and he was no longer conflicted, and the camera literally showed Kylo's face showing a ton of conflict. But, I guess he made up his mind that he was going to kill Snoke, so there truly wasn't conflicted there. Because he did say when Rey was there ready to be executed, I know what I need to do, which is what he said to Han before he killed him, that I know what I need to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it. But he left that part out this time, so I guess he made his mind up and knew what was going on. Also, not sure if he was telling the truth about Rey's parents or not, even though she was the one who, ultimately said that they were nothing, and that's what she could sense, but we'll see. Still waiting to learn more on that. Another character who I really had nothing to complain about and enjoyed was Hux. Everything about him seemed really natural and fitting into the Star Wars feel of stuff. Like, a lot of his comedic moments even, they just didn't cross that line. They just meshed really well. Moving into the gray area here, there are a ton of parallels in this movie to other episodes. Probably too many. But there are some good ones, and I can't really decide if I like it or not. So the movie starts with the evacuation of a planet, which isn't Hoth, but there's a Hoth planet there later. Rey goes to some remote planet to find this great Jedi Master, who's a little bit more kooky than you'd expect. The Master then begrudgingly agrees to train them, getting some lessons from the Master and sensing some dark-filled place that calls them to it, where they both go despite the Master's warnings. Get there, have some really funky vision thing, and end up seeing themselves, Rey in the mirror and Luke in Darth Vader's helmet. And it might be both telling the future somehow, I don't know. Both Luke and Rey see the future, and they leave the Master because of the future visions that they had, thinking they can turn the Dark Apprentice back into the light side, willingly turn themselves in, have this awkward elevator ride with the good guy up front, the bad guy in the back, the good person being like, no, I can... There's good in you, I know it. And then elevator opens up to this throne room scene where the main ultimate baddie is sitting there waiting for them, takes the lightsaber, puts it on their right side, tells the good guy to look out this viewport to their left and see all of their friends blowing up in space. And after seeing their friends blowing up in space, the good guy pulls a lightsaber to them and tries to kill the ultimate bad guy, fails, gets beat up a little bit, and then gets saved by the apprentice, who turns on their master, and the ultimate bad guy dies. So that, on top of classic moments and other moments like the Falcon swooping in, saving the day, flying through a bunch of super small tunnels that fighters probably less than a fifth of its size failed to do so, and AT-ST being taken over by the good guys, being saved by droids in general, a young slave force user, there's a lot there. For the plot, I think it was too many. But I liked the subtle things that really didn't impact the story, but they're just cool. Like the sunken X-Wing, the old Jedi tree thing reminded me a lot of the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. I don't know if it's intentional or not, but I like to think so. And then Luke and Kylo's battle at the end just had so many little things of Anakin and Obi-Wan's fights in there, or Vader and Obi-Wan's fights, saying the Master failed you and I'm sorry, whatever, and then if you strike me down, this will happen type of video. So those things were really nice. And then the original stuff that they did have in the movie, what they added to the universe was pretty cool as well. The different animals and planets, revealing other Force users are out there, the new characters like Rose and DJ, he's the Splicer dude who is really well done, and I hope he makes more appearances. And most of this new stuff was due to Rose and Finn's little adventure, that sadly and ultimately got a bunch of people killed. It was frustrating with that at first, but then, it's real. It doesn't always work out. But they definitely could have minimized casualties by not flying down to the base and then getting chased by TIE fighters who shoot at them and then blow people up inside the base even more. They were huge liabilities, this movie. But what they did do was show that the Resistance has a presence across the galaxy, that even on this rich, war-profiting planet, there are people who want to resist. So that's cool. Even though on that planet it could have lived without that rich slug lady freaking out when the Fathier, the cat horse things, were running through the casino. Easily one of my least favorite parts of the movie. It wasn't even that big of a deal, but it bothers me so much for some reason. But with that said, we're on to the bad things already leaking into them. So multiple times throughout this movie, I could literally feel disappointment, which isn't the best of signs. Between the beaten-to-death comedy attempts, practically non-existent character development, and the plot really being a combination of episodes 5 and 6, there's a lot to cover. So, first of all, what was with Leia flying through space like that? It was just, yeah. I get it that she has force powers and all, but it was really cheesy. Like, her survival out there, like, you can get away with it by, yeah, she has this innate force abilities, and that's why she didn't die or air or lungs react to the vacuum of space and whatnot. But it could have been executed much better. Like, if Kylo, he hesitated and didn't, take the shot, and then he could have sensed that she was out there and gave her a little push back. Keep in mind, technically, because it was a vacuum, like, he would have barely had to do anything, and she barely had to pull herself to get the momentum going that way. So it's not like she had this insanely strong, force moment, because space. In that mindset, it would have been much more believable if she used force push on a nearby piece of debris to send herself in the opposite direction to safety. So love me some Newton's third law moments. Also, if she would have died there, they could have built up to it a little bit more. Had her reach out to Luke and that be another factor why he came to help. But I'm glad that she was in the rest of the movie due to obvious real life reasons. It was a good farewell, and I wonder how they're going to handle it though, because I kept waiting for her to die off. But we'll see. Since we're on to vacuums though, in space, it's not the biggest of deals, but the whole ship chase and time crunch of running out of fuel, so like the whole movie, it doesn't really add up because, I mean, if they're traveling at a speed that would outrun the Empire and they're in space, they could just shut off their engines because it's space and they'll still travel at the same speed. I thought of that when one of the little support ships in the medical frigate ran out of fuel and they stopped moving, like they slammed on the brakes. So yeah, the idea that they were using fuel the entire time would mean that the Resistance and the First Order were both continuously accelerating the whole time. So if they made the issue that it was like running out of energy to power their life support, it would have made it a bit more believable, at least for me. I know it's a fantasy sci-fi thing and physics doesn't have to matter as much, but it's the little things that make a great movie in my mind, and it all relates to like continuity and the immersion that that movie or universe will bring to you and create. Other moments that broke continuity was like how Finn had to drag Rose right past Luke and the AT-AT blast to get back in the base, and when they showed him getting back in the base, you can see out the door and all the AT-ATs are there, but there's no Luke to be seen. Also, how the word Godspeed Rebels made it in the movie at all, because it's not really a thing in the Star Wars universe, as the Force is kind of the main higher being, besides like some alien creatures like Ewoks thinking 3PO was some sort of god. Yeah, it's just not really a part of it. But the biggest thorn in my side was probably the comedy of the movie. Some of it was hilarious, and I was laughing along with everyone else, but it was often just not quite the Star Wars kind of humor. So, like, for example, the first scene when Poe is basically prank calling Hux definitely had me laughing, but it just was off. And it's possible it was because it was the first thing that happened in the movie, but I can't say that for sure. I really don't know. It reminded me of when Han Solo was in the prison level, like after they cleared it for Rescue Leia, and he's on the intercom saying like, "Oh, everything's fine here, situation normal. How are you?" and shoots the intercom. It's like, well, that wasn't a good conversation anyway. It reminded me a lot of that, but it was just a step higher than that and kind of just not fitting. Other moments were like Yoda saying page turners there were not, or Luke's shoulder brush after the walkers blasted at him. Like just shrugging off the cloak or something would have been fine. And like Rey cutting through the rock when she was training with a lightsaber and crushing the little Lanai's, that's the caretaker thing, its cart. It was also hilarious, but just another time a climactic moment had its resolution and humor, which is okay every once in a while, but there's a lot of it. If you're wondering what kind of humor I'm asking for, then there's a perfect example. In the middle of a battle, Carrie Fisher, or Princess Leia, looked to 3PO and said, "Wipe that nervous expression off your face." And that, like, it flowed. That was better. That was the Star Wars style humor that I'm talking about. Next, the Porgs. They were adorable, and I'm glad they were there, but like, how many cutbacks do you need to have with them and Chewie while he's trying to eat one? Like, just that first one would have been perfect, subtle, good, tasteful, but they just kept going. And to use them for more than just comic reliefs, it would have been awesome too. Or when I say comic reliefs, I mean let's have them make a really shrill noise and then fly away. But yeah, they actually had a little mini development with Chewie. The poor guy needed something now that Han is out of the picture. You could just tell he's lonely. So having the Porgs grow on him more and more until that final fight with the one that's up in the cockpit yelling with him, which is also really funny. It would have been a lot. It would have been a lot nicer. Build up to it and a nice touch. I don't know. Maybe they were trying to do that, but I don't think they did it as well. Last thing about the Porgs was like, I know they were all puppets and animatronics and whatnot, but they used CGI every once in a while, and the consistency between that was just not right. And it just felt off when there's too obviously a puppet just being flopped there, being pulled off screen. Just didn't sit really well with me. So sadly, a couple scenes from those put it into my negative category. Since I talked about Chewie, figure I'd give some attention to the other characters that should have gotten more love than they got. Captain Phasma for one. Like, what's the point of having them in the movie if you give them a single scene in this and the last movie too? And it's more disappointing than Jango and Boba Fett. Akbar was another one that he died. He got his name thrown out there, but that was it. So hopefully the Resistance doesn't run into more traps. More poorly done characters was Poe. I mean, the entire movie was the same lesson for him over and over and over again. Don't blow stuff up, be a leader. Don't just blow stuff up, be a leader. Oh, hey, you can blow stuff up now, but it's not going to work. Now you have to be a leader. Okay, fun thought about Oscar Isaac and Poe, that he was probably the last person that Carrie Fisher ever slapped, which, I don't know, it's sad, but it's a cool claim to fame for him. Finn was another somewhat disappointing one. Not much changed for him, besides, like, being super excited about Canto Bight, which is the casino planet, and then being happy that they, tore it up and destroyed it a little bit. He was willing to sacrifice himself at the end, but he already got that development last movie. He was wanting to run away, but then decided to come back to save Rey. And to be honest, I was kind of sad that Rhodes saved him from that cannon, because, I mean, it would have been sad, it would have been really cool, but I really don't see where his character can go from here, besides like having a love triangle with Rose and Rey, which please don't let that happen. And that brings us to Rose. I mean, I really don't have much to say about her. There wasn't enough or anything to make me upset with her. There wasn't anything to make me really, really like her either. Just don't have a love triangle with her, and we'll be good. And lots of people were upset with Snoke and how we didn't learn more about him. And I was two right away, but then realized like that's all we knew about Emperor Palpatine as well. We knew nothing, and then he died, and we learned more in the prequels. So, I mean, he served his purpose, and he's there, and I'm sure there'll be a book or something. That's all I have to say for now. I'm excited for the next one, because at least they're out of movies to copy from. We can get something original. So let me know what you think and your ideas. If you're bored, let me know what I missed. I'm always down for a Star Wars debate. See you later.